Um,
Well, let's get started. I just really want to thank you guys for offering to help put this on for us. We've got a amazing program tonight with Rose and Logan, and I am really excited to have them share all the opportunities that their organization has put together, well, over the years, and fill us in on what's happening. The only other thing I wanted to mention prior to getting started is MRES is going to participate in the Home and Garden Show, which starts March 1st at the Minneapolis Convention Center. And we will be looking for volunteers to help us staff our tables there. And if people are, there'll be like a four-hour shift approximately, and that would give you a ticket to the Home and Garden Show for the day. So, consider that. Ellie's going to be sending out Ellie, is that available yet to sign up?
I've made the sign up. I'm going to put it on the website. I'll do that tonight. So
okay.
Check on our website on the volunteer page.
Okay. Well, that answers that question. So that'll be available. And it's a really great system where you can just go in and pick a day and a time that works for you, and plug in your name and everything, and help us out, because 5 days is a pretty good stretch, and so we're going to need all the help we can get. So anyway, with no further ado, let's have Rose and Logan tell us about the Minnesota State Center for Energy Excellence.
well, thank you, Doug. We are delighted to be with you all tonight. And I am Rose Patzer, the Executive Director for the Minnesota State Energy Center of Excellence. I've been with the center since its inception in 2012, but I've worked with energy for almost my entire working career. Prior to teaching at Minnesota West with ethanol and biodiesel production, I worked for the state for AURI. Many of you may know that particular acronym, Agricultural Utilization Research Institute. And I worked to research co-products and byproducts and ethanol production and biodiesel production for about 10 years. And then it was really fun as I got to work with the plant startups, especially biodiesel, because remember when the legislation went through, and certainly lobbying for the legislation for ethanol. Almost a year later, or the first winter after that legislation for biodiesel went through, we had nightmares of filter plugging issues. And so biodiesel had the thumbs down look. And I was able to do a lot of research on the gunk that was plugging those filters, and just really enjoyed it. But then started working with startup plants in our state. And it really rang a bell in my head that we had issues in the line where we had maybe a chemistry staff that was, or a staff member in the chem lab that was trained to do the test, but didn't really get it, didn't really understand why things were happening down the line. So I was able to work with a biodiesel program and an ethanol program as well. We just have certificates right now online, and we'll talk about those in a little bit. But in its complete theory, but we did start out with a 2-year on-campus program, and that was a lot of fun working with the labs with the students. Anyhow, working in energy ever since before 2012. And when our Energy Center of Excellence came on board, we're one of 8, and we'll talk about that in a minute, that were formed in 2012. But prior to that, we had other centers, which were IT, Health Force, Engineering, or Project 360, as some of you may know. But it was just a fantastic transgression of and formation of a center that really focuses on energy. And so I currently, like I said, serve as the executive director, but I also am an administrator with a teaching assignment and still teach those ethanol and biodiesel programs. And with that, that's a long-winded introduction, I'm sorry. But I'm going to hand it over to Logan to introduce himself.
Hey, Logan, he, him, his pronouns. I'm the communications coordinator with the Energy Center of Excellence. That means a little bit more than what it sounds like. I do manage the website, our socials, our outreach programs, and I'll talk more about those in the future. And then it also entails our education, our like K-12 education pieces, and how we're collaborating with educators who are in, I think that's secondary, or is it post-secondary? That's secondary. And so, yeah, happy to be here. I also do all of our graphic design and all of our imagery and formal communications too. So, and then I manage our listservs and stuff like that. So, we're gonna step into this because I have the next slide. So, as Rose had alluded to, the Centers of Excellence have existed in the state of Minnesota for a few years. There are 8 of us. There are 2 agricultural centers, north and south. One is located in, north is at Central Lakes College, south is at South Central College. Energy is currently housed at Granite Falls on the Minnesota West campus. Engineering is housed in Mankato, Minnesota State University, Mankato. Health Force is out of Winona. IT is out of Metro in the Twin Cities. Advanced manufacturing comes out of Bemidji, and then transportation is housed at DCTC. So a good mix of 4- and 2-year schools there. And then, as you can see, we're kind of all over the state as well. All of the centers share one mission, and that is engaging industry, enhancing education, and inspiring students. How we do that is different for each center. On the next slide, Rose is going to tell you how we do that. But if you want to connect with any of those centers, all of their information is on that website link. And that is, again, Minnesota State. So that's the legislative controlled 54 campuses that are in the Minnesota colleges and universities system, if that makes sense. It's not the U of M.
So as Logan mentioned, our mission contains 3 buckets. We engage industry. In other words, we are the chair and leader of the Minnesota Energy Consortium. And folks, this deals with all things energy. It's not just the renewables. And we'll talk about the programs that are available through our Minnesota State College system. We are the connection to the Center for Energy Workforce Development as well, and that's a national affiliation that we'll talk about in a little bit further. Another one of our buckets is enhancing education and working towards those K-12 labs, customized training opportunities, and curriculum alignment. And the curriculum alignment, at that point, I mean that we're looking at our college programs. So we're looking so that if somebody at Century is taking solar program, the solar photovoltaic installer program, or the Canby campus of Minnesota West, the same program, that curriculum aligns so that we know that our students are getting the same or very similar education across the board. K-12, we certainly do a lot of outreach with that, and we'll talk more of that as well. And we also try to inspire students. We have this energy trailer. You can see the picture there on the screen, the Get Into Energy trailer. It is a mobile classroom, and we bring it to career fairs and field demonstrations. And we also bring it to high schools and sometimes middle schools, I guess, and alternative schools for week-long events that the teachers can actually work with the kits that are in that trailer. You can see it's housed with there are 8 solar panels on each of our trailers, and it's housed with a lot of kits that the students can work with. And the kits there and everything in that mobile classroom is related to renewable energy. So we can move on.
We have, so like we alluded to a few times, we also help coordinate and manage some of that recruitment and curricular alignment for the 12 energy programs, the 12 campuses and 30 energy programs across the state. For you all, you're gonna look at that green column. Those are our clean energy careers. That energy technical specialist would also fit in that when we're thinking about like the future of renewables and renewable sites and mini grids and microgrids. because Florida Power and Light were on the Canby campus 2 weeks ago, and they were talking about renewable energy technicians are the way people are going. So they want them to be wind and solar prepared, right? And so that energy technical specialist allows students to pick 10 elective credits. And so they could technically build that wind and solar compatibility so that they're the most prepared for one of the largest employers that we work with. And then most of our solar photovoltaic programming is coming out of Century College in White Bear, Minnesota. That's just north of the Twin Cities. And then Canby does run a summer institute, essentially, or a summer camp for students to get their solar photovoltaic, and that's a Minnesota West campus. Other clean energy careers, that's wind coming out of Canby. There's 3 programs under there. Their biofuels technology, including ethanol and biodiesel. And that's Rose's specialty in the state, as she mentioned. And then Mankato does offer a renewable energy certificate still, and that's Mankato State University. And then way up north, we got Fond du Lac in Cloquet, and they are also offering a clean energy kind of space. Anyone questions there? We'll move along. So this is our website. It's super resourceful. This is a QR code if you're familiar with those. Otherwise, we'll visit the website at the end and give you a little tour. But this is just kind of like our main resource and our main hub where we store a lot of our resources.
So let's take a look at a few of our projects that we had in 2022 and realize, folks, that we are a staff of 2 full-timers and 2 part-timers to conduct all the work that we do within our little center. So let's take a look at the next screen. I think this is you, Logan.
Yep. I got it. So Solar Camp, we funded the pilot and development of that solar camp in Canby last year. It's our first outstate program, if you will. White Bear is still technically Metro. And so that was a partnership between a dean at Minnesota West, faculty at Minnesota West, and the center, making sure that we were all kind of moving the same way, right? Paddling the same direction. So it was open to all Minnesota electrical students, and so that's electricians. Those are the diploma and certification folks. There's quite a bit of different ways that you can come to electrical, and we welcomed all those students. Last year we focused heavily our recruitment on Wilmer and Hutchinson, Ridgewater, and a couple other schools just because they were proximal, so they were closer to Minnesota West. Last year we graduated 12 students from the program. They do take an online course from March to May. And that's the assessment course. And then they spend 3 weeks on site in labs. They're building, these are the students from last year. They did in fact build that array. They do 4 or 5 different mounting systems. They work with inverters, they work with, and so they also spend time on just like learning the solar code. So that was kind of cool because I came after code days. And so they were like really into like telling me about the stickers and how things are going. And I asked a lot of questions because I'm kind of new to the energy space. We did also were able last year to provide free room and board. And then also we helped with the industry and employer engagement. That looked like sponsoring meals from Xcel Energy or local installers or electrician companies. We sponsored a meal to tell the students about what we do. And then also helping with their project showcase and demo day. At the end of it, they invited employers and folks in the community to come and find out what these students have been doing, both people who had invested in the program, but also people who are invested in our graduates and are really interested in recruiting those students to be employed.
And can I add one more thing, Logan? Yep. Last year, our pilot program was free to those students, so they did not have to pay tuition. And that was such a gangbuster. We can't do that this year. We didn't apply for any grants and likely should have, but we'll see how it goes this spring.
And then we are running a second year. So It is currently open and registration actually started last week or this week on Minnesota West campus. And they can email Judy Drown. That information's on our website and on all of our social medias. And then they are recruiting for their second run. So all electrical students in the state are welcome to apply, and classes do start on March 13th.
Are you guys open to questions as you go, or do you want to wait till the end?
Let's get through this, look into the future, or actually we can just take them now. Go ahead, Doug.
I just had one. I just wanted you to define down at the bottom. You said it's all Minnesota State electrical students. And what does that mean? They have to be an electrician or just in electrical programs or what?
No, but it makes life a lot easier for the instructors. Let me put it that way. So our solar PV installers do not need a degree nor a certificate, but they do have to work with a master's electrician on site. And so because we are for credit, and the reason we have electrical students listed here is because the solar PV installers program, that certificate, marries so well with the electrical programs across the state. And so they don't need to take all those electrical programs like AC/DC1, AC/DC2, PLCs, electrical calculations. They don't have to do those all because they already did them. And so that's why this is like a perfect marriage. And the whole idea of truncating this from a 15-week semester program to 3 weeks after graduation, they're done. That is just like a marriage made in heaven for students.
And have you, just as far as job possibilities, does everybody typically have a job waiting, or how does that work?
Yep, 100%
Awesome.
placement last year, but realized we only had 12 graduates. So, but you know what? That's the beginning, and we're going to build this. Unfortunately, most of our labs, even centuries, you really can't handle more than 20 to 24 students, depending on the lab size. And so we are working on that, and we're also working on expanding some solar programs within the state college system as well.
Thank you.
Sweet. We'll move to the next one. That's you, Rose. I can hit play. Sorry.
Well, thank you for that introduction, Logan. We have launched an Energy Careers Academy, and Logan, you can go ahead and jump to the next screen, with our partners of Excel Energy, Minnesota State Wadena, and TCI Solutions for Minnesota, to develop a power line and a gas utility substation program that's accessible to the Twin Cities students. And the reason I say this, and I know this, our audience is not power line, and it certainly isn't gas utility, but it's, you know, the closest program that somebody could go to from the metro area for power line training would be at Dakota County. And there aren't any buses that go there. And so we tried to attack this from a different level, and thus this partnership has formed. Discussion started back in 2015. We were at the Center for Energy Workforce Development Career Conference out in DC. And we started talking about, you know, energy, folks, is a white male dominated industry. And it doesn't matter what branch of energy you're in, it still is white male. And so we're working towards diversification, but it might have taken 7 years to get to this point, but hey, we're getting there. The PUC actually has made a major call for all of the utilities in the state to work towards a more diverse energy workforce. In other words, we don't have folks going to neighborhoods, reading meters, working on power lines, what have you, that look like themselves. And so that's what we're trying to work with here. That urban access to career training is just huge. And so what we did was work with Excel Energy at their Riverside facility. That's a former coal plant, now shut down, but they do have power line training there. And started a 9-month career pathway for students in the metro area to obtain their power line certificate. And these folks that are going to graduate in the spring will actually have a first year of their apprenticeship done. Doesn't matter what company, whether it's Excel Energy, Minnesota Power, you name it. We got them, you know, smaller utilities as well. It just gives them that leg in. And what's so great is where the Riverside facility is, it's just off of I think the North Line. Is that right, Logan, for the trains? So the students can come from all over the metro area. Now, notice that Twin City residents are eligible. That's the main focus, the main targeted audience is the folks in the metro area. However, we did bring in one student from Waconia just because there was space available. And so Waconia is, you know, west side of the Twin Cities by a mile. Well, okay, by about 40. But they we're working towards just diversifying the workforce. And it really is such a great effort. This is like a feather in our cap.
Rose,
Yep.
quick question. So does the DCTC no longer have a lineman's program, or is that still going?
They do. And one of our partners, you'll notice, is TCI Solutions. And this is a wraparound services organization that we brought to Minnesota from Arizona, and really work to help these students overcome their hurdles. And so they're part of this partnership as well, hugely part, and huge partner here. And so they initially, when TCI Solutions came to the Twin Cities, we had 6 students of color apply to the program and get into DCTC. And I do believe all of them graduated, and that just strengthened the diversity of Excel Energy's workforce by a mile. It might only be 6, you might not think that's very many, but holy cow, from 2 folks of color to 6 to 8, it really did lend itself to working towards that diversifying goal that the company has. And so, yeah, Dakota County still has that, but because of the challenges of travel, Dakota County's not on a bus line. It just is it's a hurdle for our city residents.
I want to share with you, there's a major thing going through the Metropolitan Council right now where they're talking about putting a BRT line all the way from the casino in Prior Lake over to DCTC. And that it would intersect with the blue line going from the mall to Apple Valley in that area. So hopefully in the future, there will be a connection there so students can get out there. It's the same issue we talked about today at Century. I mean, just trying to get students, transportation is unbelievable.
Right. And so we have some exciting news to tell you coming up at the end of this screen, but we do have 14 students currently enrolled in the program. And this is an accelerated degree. In other words, we're by-stepping once again that 15, 16-week semester, and we've gone to the 9-month program. The students do encounter on-site instruction delivery and also coaching at Xcel Energy, and that coaching becomes with the wraparound services from TCI Solutions. I mean, it really helps the students. They're going to learn how to interview. They're going to learn how to show up. They're going to learn how to manage a bus card. I mean, all of these things that a lot of us don't even consider. So it is really important. And we do have, or all of our students in the program have full access to the student services at M-State out of Wadena. So the virtual world has made all of this possible, and that is just fantastic. But one of the next things I want to just mention, or as a final on this screen, is we do have a gas utility substation program ready to start in the fall. That's a 6-month program. And we are now recruiting the Twin Cities residents out of the metro area, but this one training is actually going to happen in Hugo, Minnesota. So who's going to take a bus to Hugo? Nobody, because there's no bus available, right? So the students will take the train to that Riverside facility in North Minneapolis, and then they'll be bused over to the Hugo training facility when they need to do those labs and the work that falls within that program. So very excited for that to happen. This has caught the legislators' eyes. It's caught our system office, our chancellor's eyes as well. And it's really great to see, Logan, what you just sent over. And Logan can send the 15 county recruitment area if you'd like to see it. He can share that with you, Doug, and you can share it with the group. It just is a fantastic program. I hope that it really takes off with legs, and our Xcel partners, both Xcel Energy and the Energy Center of Excellence, have invested heavily into this, and Minnesota State Wadena certainly. But it's to the point where Xcel Energy pulled on the recruiter for TCI Solutions, pulled them into their wings and employed him as well, so that he can work with these students. He knows the students, he's lived their life, and has a great rapport with every one of them that are enrolled in the program. So with that, I can pause for questions. And go ahead, Logan, on to the next one.
Great. Okay. We have about 15 minutes before we want to give space for questions. So I just want to put that out there too.
We still have like 10 screens to go.
So
Awesome.
The Minnesota Energy Consortium, or the MEC, is a group, a coalition, a conglomerate, a meeting of the minds, if you will. So that's industry, business, education, nonprofits, and government agencies. We invite everyone to the table. If you have an investment in the energy workforce in Minnesota, we want to see you there. It's had industry engagement for over 15 years, and that's both on a Minnesota and a national level. We actually existed before the national one did. So that's kind of a cool fact that our coalition of energy partners were thinking groupthink before we could get it together on a national scale. We do partner nationally with the Center for Energy Workforce Development, and then they have several partnerships, but that's a lot of industry in a space talking about what we can do and addressing the challenges of our future workforce needs. Power line and wind are two of our biggest needs for the future of electrification, and thinking about new things like hydrogen tech, like people who know how to make hydrogen and make it the right way, make it the clean way, make it the way that you can get the money from the government for. And then thinking about folks who are tackling battery storage, thinking about folks who are innovating in the electric vehicle space. And so we get together annually to do that. There's also regional meetings that we go to where we stay in touch with the national state of energy. There's also some education and career technical stuff too. So we did get into CTE works and some of that stuff on the national scale as well. Minnesota Energy Consortium is 150 members strong. Our steering committee meets 6 times a year. That steering committee is made up of the major utilities in the state: GRE, MREA, Ottertail, Minnesota Power / Elite. And then we are the leaders of that committee. And then I think I skipped one. Xcel Energy. I think I skipped one. And then twice a year we have what I formally dubbed it just like 2 weeks ago, is essentially a state of energy meeting that happens twice a year. There are biannual MEC meetings, and we host those at energy sites. We host them. We did host on the Xcel Energy Riverside newly remodeled training facility in the fall, and so everyone who came got to tour the facility, which is really cool to see a coal plant retrofitted, and to hear about the challenges and see them and walk the grounds. And so that's really cool. Anyone's welcome. So if you want to get involved or be added to that listserv, contact me. My name is Logan again. I am one of 2 people full-time on our staff, and so I also run our communications. So that's why it's me. Hi. To attend those meetings, again, reach out to me. That's my email address. And then our next meeting is March 21st at St. Cloud State University in Plymouth. So if you are around, would like to attend, those are open to everyone. Doug has been to 1 or a few probably, but I've only been to 2. So
And this one is really brief. Solar for Schools, as you all are aware, that the Department of Commerce has those grants available, and they extended their RFPs or their letter of intent to next week, to the 28th, I believe, actually. And we did put forth an application for the Minnesota West Canby Campus College, and we're one of 2 colleges that have put the letter of intent forward. And this will expand our solar training operations at that campus. So I look forward to it. We're just in the early stages. We haven't been awarded the notice to proceed, but I don't think we'll have any issues with that. And then we'll be going through a lot of red tape actually, when you want to put up a solar array, even if it's just a 40 kW on state property, have to go through the local letter of intent with the newspaper and open that up for comment. And we'll just see how that goes. So I'm looking forward to this opportunity for us and hoping that it'll be a successful endeavor. Go ahead, Logan.
And another thing just on that, this is also an example of something we do which is grant applications and management for the state system colleges. So we will work with programs or work within ourselves to apply for federal and state dollars and manage that for programs so that we can get folks the resources they need. So that's something else we do. And then this last piece, this is my bread and butter and what I've been doing for the past year in outreach and inspiration events. And so State Fair we did with the Department of Comm. We held their what's happening in the state booth. And then we also did the Minnesota State, hi, did you know about energy jobs at the Minnesota State booth, Minnesota State College and Universities. I know it's very confusing sometimes. And then we also participate in recharge events. Those are the electric vehicle and electrification events that are hosted at different sites where there's test drives for electric vehicles that happen. That's through Recharge America, I believe is the technical branching. And then also the state FFA Career Connections. What those are is regional and statewide awareness and influence events. That FFA Career Connections was every FFA student in the state, which is, I think it was nearly 4,000 students in the stadium or the Coliseum at the state fairgrounds. So it was a little wild. I think it was my 3rd event. I'm much more prepared this year for that. So I'm excited We did participate and present at CTE Works. That is Career and Technical Education, working for Minnesota. That's Perkins dollars. You may have heard it otherwise. We presented. We were one of the folks putting that conference on and leading the goals and outcomes of that. But we are investing in the professional development of CTE training across the state. And so I just wanted to make sure that's represented here too as part of my work. And then I also do career exploration events. So what that means is high school career fairs, job fairs, targeted populations. I did workshops this summer with some of the regional coalitions and career force folks. We're doing career exploration workshops. I went into a couple high schools and talked to them about salaries and made them like look up all the data on their own around how long it takes to get into the field, how much they could make, and then present that back to their class in engaging ways. And so those are some of the things I offer as well. I'll work with a teacher to try and kind of customize a training or a workshop for them. Sweet.
So as we look forward to what our little crystal ball is currently, it's always going to change as the horizon of energy always changes. And a lot of people have heard me say Minnesota is the land of 10,000 lakes, but I also think we're the land of 10,000 opportunities to work in the energy field. So let's move on there, Logan. So this energy education for educators has coined our E3 workshops, and we, prior to the pandemic, so we took a 2-year hiatus. We hosted workshops around the state, up to 4 actually in the summer, but that really taxes our faculty that can lead the presentations. But we're looking at these workshops in June 12th and 13th at St. Cloud Tech, and June 14th and 15th at the Merit Center in Marshall. And what that includes is 16 continuing education units for the high school teachers. This is free for them to attend. We do pay for a one-night lodging, and we provide lunch. We also include, besides curriculum, we give them kits, and we also provide industry tours along the way. So in the 2-day workshop, like in Marshall, we'll probably go to ADM. We'll go to one of the largest solar arrays here in Marshall area. And so it's pretty exciting for the teachers that they can bring the energy back into the classroom. But also, if you remember that picture of our mobile energy classroom, the energy trailers, those are loaded with 20 to 30 different kits of wind, solar, hydro, and some advanced energy kits that those trailers can be brought to the schools and parked for a week to 4 weeks. We've had them up to 4. And so the teachers can, and different teachers can work with the kids and the students and really expose them to hands-on opportunities of working with energy. For this year's workshops, we are going to open the registration on March 1st. And Doug, we can certainly share that, or Logan can share that registration form once it's ready to go. Certainly can find it on our website as well. So.
Yeah, we have a number of people that might be interested that are part of our solar boat regatta schools.
Great. And so on our horizon, here's our crystal ball here. We're exploring new training and programs in the state of Minnesota. We do not have an electric vehicle charger technician training program. And so that's something that we're trying to bring to the plate, because the NEVI funding, the National EV Infrastructure funding, it's still proposed that I know of. I haven't seen it come across yet. But we're looking towards building some programs within the state college and university system. And one of them might happen right down in the Northeast Minneapolis at the Renewable Energy Center with Jamez Staples. I'm sure some of you are familiar with him. And that's the solar skills trainings program. And today we had a very high interest from Hennepin Tech to partner on something with this. So I'm really looking forward to a partnership really blooming and blossoming with Solar Skills and then that EV charger technician program launching. And then of course, the other hot topics include battery storage programming and Nextera for Florida Light, Power and Light. And why would I talk about Florida Power and Light? It's because they're building, or they're putting up most of our, or contracting most of our wind farms in the state of Minnesota. So it's kind of interesting. Of course, we're keeping our eye on hydrogen right now, but right now it's just not that prevalent, whether it's green or blue hydrogen training, but we'll see where that one rolls out as well.
Are you by chance taking any look at small wind, like under 100 kW? I get a number of calls from people that have wind turbines that, need repairs and things like that. Is there anything out there in your future for that?
Not in our future immediately, but what I think a really good resource, and I can share that with you as well, Doug, is Jason Walker out of the Slayton RDSP, and so Renewable Development Sustainable Partnership. He has contacts with our 19 counties here in southwest corner of the state. I realize that's not northeast Minnesota, and it's not certainly southeast, but there are people that can actually work on those turbines and refurbish them, and a lot of them are self-taught, so it's pretty cool. I mean, and these are agricultural producers, most of them.
Okay. On the green hydrogen program, let's just share with you that we at MRES had a speaker from Excel that's doing a green hydrogen program at not Pathfinder, but Prairie Island. And that looks really exciting down there.
Yeah, especially with the onset of that coal plant retiring. So, and I've served on the legislative commission for the coal transition, and we've just finished our report. So that will be, I think it's out on the Department of Commerce website right now. And it is a pretty astounding finding for each one of the coal plants that are retiring within the next 10 and even 15, 20 years. So, and the impacts they have on those communities. So bringing in this new technology, that's why I say we're keeping our eyes on the horizon there, but we just aren't ready to embrace it yet. And part of that is because let's see where this goes. We got to let industry drive our training programs at the state college system.
Sweet. Okay, this is our last space, and then we'll go into questions, but I'll just breeze through this kind of strategically. How about that? So resources and engagement, building the awareness of Minnesota or energy careers across Minnesota. Again, here's our website. So I'm going to actually pull that up this time. On here, we go through our three pathways: are renewable energy, traditional energy, and that energy career or the energy tech specialist that I talked about. Students can click through these and learn about salaries. They can learn about job growth. Some of this data isn't like this
Not
negative, where I bet it is not quite the best. And also the salary ranges are average when they're traditionally making quite a bit more than this. But you're averaging all the people in this field. So that's why it's a little, but we are working on it to get accurate data. But here it's what we try to do is give students a pretty good picture about what they'll be doing and then where they can go to do that, right? And so our website should be a one-stop shop for career exploration for students, and that's kind of how that page that I just scrolled through is set. If you go back to this space on the bottom, if you're an educator, right now it links directly to curricular resources. I'm gonna actually take you to the trailer page. This is our mobile classroom that we've talked about a couple times. There are each of the kits that we offer in there, and I need to get one of these adjusted. But this is what we have in the trailers for teachers and students to check out. They can check it out for a week or two, use different classrooms. And so this is all free and open on our website. We don't have any trailer events currently scheduled right now, but I'll get there. There are a few events coming up for Earth Day, and then this is how you request our trailer. And so then other than that, we have a little blog that's under under this news and events space. Our latest news is from November. Our colleague who's working on the Energy Careers Academy won a national award for that work on behalf of the Center on Excel Energy. Here's
Awesome.
more information about our solar camp. There are the 3 stories, direct profiles of students. They're interactive and engaging. There's media with them. And so then we can go to the events, and these are the spaces that we will be occupying over the next few months or have occupied, as we just have past events on here right now. But yeah, you can check. And then finally, this is how to get a hold of us. This is our team. So that's our website. You can send us a message or email us directly, would be preferred. So I wanted to walk you through that, but that's where all of our resources exist. Oop, I killed the share, didn't I?
You did.
All
That's
right.
okay.
Okay, I'll just walk you through it on my phone because it was the website, the trailer, and then connecting with me, and you'll get the slides with when this is over. I'll send them on to Doug. Using the trailer, and so we went over everything that's encompassed with the trailer in that website demo, and then connections, networking, and presentations. So I also do, like I mentioned, classroom work. If there's events that you think we should be at, if there's things that you think we should know about in the state, connect with me directly. My email is my name, logan.trader@minnesotawest, so mnwest.edu. And then I'm going to pull up this virtual bow if Rose wants to fill some time here.
I think we ran up perfectly to our time there, Logan, just saying.
Okay.
Logan, will you guys be at the Recharge event in Mankato in March?
In March. I don't know if we were invited to that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Logan, you will be. That's at Mankato State
Oh, the
U.
symposium. Yeah, we'll be at
Yeah, Okay.
Yeah, we just committed to Albert Lee this week, so I was like, did I miss one? But that's in May, so. Sorry for the whiplash, everybody, if you get it. Ready? There you go. Sweet. Okay, so there's our contact information. We are on all those social media platforms, so Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. I run those all, and our contact information is there. So thank you so much. Do y'all have questions or anything?
Well,
Logan, I noticed I noticed on the second slide, which quickly went away, it looked like a grid. So do you do grid line, oh gosh. Yes, training to working with grid lines, that kind of thing.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, at
Right
our,
here, yeah.
we don't do training with the grid, but that is incorporated in the power line programs across the state. And there's like 6 of them or something, right, Logan? Or 8. But we have at our next meeting on March 21st, MISO is going to be coming to talk about the transmission plans and updates for the future, for the current and the future. So we'll have a representative from MISO to talk about those issues, because everybody talks about the transmission congestion, right?
Right.
And we'll also have the Department of Transportation talking about the EV infrastructure at that meeting as well. So she'll be before lunch, MISO's right after lunch. And it really should be a good conversation. We, like Logan coined our meetings as the state of energy in Minnesota. We really do try to bring a well-rounded meeting together with folks. And our first presenter on that 21st will be from the Center for Energy Workforce Development out of DC, although she's a resident of Florida. She's our regional development person, and she will be talking about energy as fundamental curriculum that'll be available for schools, for industry, for energy sector groups that might be interested in obtaining a certificate from the Energy's fundamental curriculum that the national folks have adopted. So looking forward to that.
Rose, we'll have to connect with each other. Our speaker for MRES in March is a gal from MISO that's going to talk to us. So
Yeah, I worked with her before but she was under a different guy. Oh, she worked for the PUC and now she's with MISO since last summer, I think.
yeah, Teresa.
Yep.
Yep.
And so she'll be sharing with us about that information. So hopefully she'll get a twofer and be able to do one presentation and present to our folks and present to yours as well.
Yeah, great.
But it's interesting how everybody in the energy field, we're all talking similar topics. It's really great to be able to share what others are doing and shoot, we just picked up climate generation yesterday, and we'll be partnering with workshops with those folks and their energy workshops that they're going to have this summer.
Yeah, they do some great work. The other thing I wanted to ask you, have you guys looked at the new federal legislation and what that impact might be for what you're doing and for the industry?
Well, the one thing with the feds is it's so dang competitive. And so I actually would rather stay away from step clear from the Fed funding, but I really do like what commerce and what transportation are working towards. So a lot easier arena to work in when they launch their funds. And I think I know we'll be pursuing some of those grant dollars that are going to be available or that are available right now. So
the other thing I was going to ask you is the Solar on Schools program that you guys are working on down there. Now that because you're outside XL territory, you'd be under that funds. Have you also worked with XL Energy and in the territory for Solar on Schools?
no, none of the schools have reached out to us. And our college system, so Mankato and Winona already have big arrays all over their campus. St. Cloud Tech, I thought would be coming on board. They have a very small array on their campus, but I thought they'd be expanding, and Central Lakes College as well. But none of them have really reached out to us for assistance, but certainly we would encourage. And all of the conference calls or the Zoom meetings that we've had over the past couple of years, I've also extended that opportunity that we're happy to work with them if that need arises.
That new system in Winona, I was down there for the ribbon cutting, and that is just fantastic.
It is, and so is Mankato. I mean, oh my gosh, it's just impressive. So.
Yeah, I love that parking lot solar. That's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm surprised, the U of M have really taken the lead on a lot of that solar parking lot and the solar on the roofs on their older buildings. But for some reason, our state colleges haven't jumped, but part of it could very well be, since we're more laden with two-year colleges, you just don't have faculty that can be extended to work on a grant management system. So that very well could be one of the issues. I don't know. But certainly we're seeing more, everybody's talking solar, right? So we're looking forward to embracing that as best we can.
Yeah. The amazing thing about Winona is what they announced that day is that solar did not cost a penny to the college, and it does not cost a penny to the students, which is pretty amazing, Right.
And they were very, very fortunate, and Winona has their own grant writers. So most of our two-year colleges do not have grant writers. And so that becomes a challenge. And then again, a fiscal issue that you have to concern when you're pursuing some of these grants. So
there's a question in the chat, Rose.
Okay, thank you very kindly.
Catherine, do you want to say it, or Ellie, do you want to take it?
No, it's for Rose.
It's what, Catherine?
The question is addressed to Rose and Logan.
Yeah, so many of the US.
No, I mean, do you just want to say what it is and so she can answer it?
We got it.
Yep, so clean energy careers going forward, what's the plan is just to continually, I mean, our technology changes on a dime sometimes, I swear to God. I shouldn't say that on a public meeting. But the clean energy careers going forward are looking into, like I said, the battery storage, into the solar installers, into the EV charging technicians, into green hydrogen, blue hydrogen, and who else knows what's on the horizon. Geothermal. We have some of that training in our HVAC programs already, and the air source heat pumps as well. So it's really hard to keep an embrace, or keep it all under wraps, but we just keep evolving as we can. Our utility scales, what's interesting, folks, and I don't know how many of you are outstate, but in the metro area, you have to be union to be working on an electrician, a solar array, what have you. But outstate, we don't have that requirement. And so, that's an opportunity to either prepare students for feeder programs into the union, or to prepare students for feeder programs from, let's say, from solar into the electrician program at one of our outstate or other electrician program offering colleges. So I think as far as PV energy on homes, it's just going to take a while because we're just not there yet for cost, because it still is a pretty big investment in the ROI. And, one of the worst things I think is that our renewable energies are great. I have a thermal system here in my home, and it was about 18 years old when we had to replace that heat pump. And that cost almost $20,000. Well, that's not affordable for everybody. So that's the thing where, we want the equitable opportunities, solar, same thing for folks, but some of that is just, folks can't always bite the bullet on those costs and investments. But I love my geothermal heat pump. I just have to tell you that, especially in Minnesota, heat, cool, it's all good. So,
Well, the PV systems are probably less money in a lot of cases than Tesla vehicles or Ford F-150 pickups.
yeah, and then it really, was still a hurdle for a lot of outstate folks.
Yeah.
The utilities. So like in Marshall here, that's where I reside. We have the Marshall Utilities. It's an independent electrical utility company. So you don't always have buy-in, not yet. But by God, with the governor signing over the 2040 carbon-free legislation, then I can guarantee you we're going to see a lot more movement towards the PV utility scale, community solar gardens, and even just green cities. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but we're seeing a lot more of that. Marshall's is a pretty good green city, but it's not quite there. So.
One of the legislators out of the Southeast spoke at a meeting I was at the other day, and he spelled out how that 2040 is set up. And, like you say, there's some pushback from some of the rural areas, but he said one thing that they're doing that I thought was pretty interesting is they're allowing them to buy RECs and
Right.
renewable energy credits. And so if they don't want to put in a system, they can go that other way. And
Right. And eventually, we're going to get there. We're just slower than the UK, or Europe. Let's just put it that flat on the table. We're just
I would say slower than almost anyone.
Well, I might not disagree with you there. But I think, I hope we've answered your questions tonight. Are there any other ones out there that we can try to field?
curious a little bit about the choice of term of traditional energy.
Okay.
What defines that? Is that an industry term? I'm sorry, I'm not. This is new to me. Almost all
No,
of this.
yeah, so traditional would be your power line, your nuclear, your gas utility production, so anything non-renewable. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Because I would put
I
anaerobic
guess.
digestion in renewable as well.
Yeah, I think my question of that stems from like solar energy has been around since the 1800s.
Yeah,
It, it's
before.
I it, yeah, it's not something I would consider not. I would not consider solar energy new.
No,
It is
but what's
definitely.
interesting in our country is so I would say about the 50s when they started doing a lot of solar thermal on houses in the 50s and up and through the 70s, you had these really ugly panels on the outside of houses. And those were solar thermal. So you're working with heating water through
Mirrors and just
Yep.
raw black body
Yep.
radiation capture.
And so, but look at how far we've come. And, people still have the NIMBYs. I'm sorry if that's a bad term that I should not use, but not in my backyard, people that don't want to see a farmer's agricultural area be converted to a solar array, but yet the solar arrays become a cash flow for the agricultural producer. So it's pretty interesting how far along we've come. And I think that look at the vertical axis wind turbines that we are making advances on technology right now, even for rooftops of houses. So who knows what's going to take off at this point. I honestly think those vertical axis wind turbines for homes might be a new adventure for homeowners, more so than solar, because not everybody has the space.
Yeah, there's definitely some interesting applications there. I think a large amount of the hesitancy around them has been their relative newness to the wind area and also relative complexity of construction.
Right.
You really have to align that body correctly for it to actually catch any wind. But definitely some very interesting potential there.
I think we have some great opportunities coming on our horizon. It's an exciting time to be working in energy.
Yeah, I noticed that you included nuclear as part of traditional energy. What caught my eye in relation to that would be I would consider nuclear in a similar category to that of biodiesel or ethanol farming, where, while not strictly renewable, is a strong stepping stone to pure renewables such as solar, which is also the crux of wind. But it's just interesting where that category comes down to, I guess.
And nuclear, I'm putting it more towards towards historical, sorry. Only because realize that those nuclear plants are built, let's say 40 years ago, the one in Monticello and or Prairie Island or what have you. But so they get commissioned for 40 years and then they have to re-up. So can they get another 10 years? So that to me is very much traditional just because of the historic background of that industry itself. Most of the time, or in our new future, I think we're going to see more anti-nuclear folks than we're seeing right now, just because of the storage of the rods. But it is it is carbon-free energy. So
it's carbon-free energy, and I would argue it's possibly the highest energy. It's the best energy source we have for our energy demands today, because you could flat replace every source of energy with nuclear in the US for the next 1,000 some years and be fine about it. I think there is definitely a lot of public fear around most notably Chernobyl and Fukushima, both of which are incredible exceptions even among themselves.
We were able to tour the national facility down in Arizona where they actually brought all the heads of states of countries together when Fukushima happened. And you could just feel the energy in the room, even though that was years ago. It's just amazing. And I love the engineers, the technologists, the folks that have a grasp and a handle on what can happen. But what's really cool is we've also been able to tour the Monticello plants because of the energy center connections that we have. And if you walk into their control room, you're walking into the 1960s. I mean,
Oh yeah, a lot
it's
of the
insane.
reactors that are in operation in the United States are quite old because we didn't build anymore because people got afraid.
Right,
But
and
we
you can't update them. That's the thing. You
Yeah.
cannot
Well,
update them.
they are quite difficult to update. It rarely makes sense to do so.
Well, just a
Um,
reminder, there's also a nuclear power plant in Ukraine, and that is very problematic right now because of the war. So, and that's not an outlier, right? That's not a one-off.
Right.
I would
Well-
argue that case is exceptional for a few reasons, but also does not pose significant danger. But this also isn't perhaps the right forum for that
Correct.
discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd throw out the two issues with, the nuclear is like, well, if, catastrophic events are rare, but they're still, when they happen, they're catastrophic, as opposed to, what happens with if a solar array goes down, people don't get power for a while or something. And, or I suppose you could have panels blowing and some property damage or something, or
Sure, the
injuries.
fail state
but-
of a solar panel is a solar
Yeah.
panel doesn't work.
The other big problem with nuclear, at least the traditional nuclear, is the capital. The building a reactor the way it's been done is very capital intensive and takes a long time, and there are cost overruns, and you're really dealing with the old school kind of project amortization, where distributed generation, you can put up a solar array pretty quickly, not to say that you're going to achieve the kind of scale you get with a nuclear plant, but you can put up a whole bunch of them close to where the power is used, and it's really a kind of a new paradigm. So that brings me to what I was going to ask. How much, Rose and Logan, how much does the material you cover and the programs that get into moving to distributed generation, grid enhancement, microgrids, things like that, versus simply just the generation and transmission technologies?
Our programs aren't really generated towards that I know of. Doesn't mean that they don't touch on it in their 1 year, semester or 2 semester long program. But we also are hearing from our energy folks, our utility folks, that we need the smart grid engineers. In other words, most of these are going to be electrical engineers and be able to work with the smart grid technologies that are out there right now and that are fast changing. So it is kind of, it's still of wait and hear. I think our engineering programs, especially at Mankato, really deal with that more so, and probably the U of M too, for that matter.
Yeah.
So-
And my other question was, you mentioned, wanting to bring more, diverse communities, and representation into your programs, but how about kind of asking the same question about the Twin Cities versus the rest of Minnesota, greater Minnesota, what have you. Where are you seeing people coming in from or showing interest in your programs, and where would you like to expand that, and generate more interest?
Well, I think since we're kind of extending the carrot, in other words, accessible education to the Metro students, that's really huge, because they really haven't had a power line program close to them. They don't have a solar program except for what MRES's customized training. And the unions too. Don't let me forget or dismiss
Right.
those folks.
No, not at all.
So it is really important that we provide this accessible education for our students, for our populations. But up at, for instance, Minnesota Power Duluth, I don't even know where they're recruiting from right now, because there isn't a power line program close by. Ottertail Power has one more closer in Wadena. But they're recruiting folks off the streets, and that's just power line. So
Yeah.
we don't have a solar program up north. We do have some on the tribal nation. So that's what's
Yeah,
really.
that's great. Is there, yeah, I was going to ask if you know Robert Blake. I mean,
Yep, and I'll be talking
yeah.
with him next week because I'm bringing
Yeah,
in
awesome.
our partnership with Jamez and
Great,
Minneapolis
great.
Public
Yeah.
Schools. So we'll see what happens because I didn't have luck with the unions, just saying.
Well, you know, well, thank you. Yeah, thank you for talking to us. It's great to hear about your programs, and you know, wish you all the best for you know, a bright future.
Great. Well, thank you everybody for attending our session today. Logan, any finals?
No, thanks y'all. Again, our emails are on the website and on the PowerPoint, and we'll get in contact if we need to. So.
Well, thank you guys very much. I really appreciate it. Any final questions? Barbara, I saw you shaking your head. Did you have a question?
It's okay. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Okay. Well, thank you again. And we will be, you know, we've recorded this, Ellie has, and we'll be putting it up on our YouTube site, hopefully in about 30 days. And we'll be back next month with another speaker. And the board members, we're going to be rolling over to our board meeting here in about 10 minutes. So thank you, everybody, for attending.
Wonderful. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
y'all.
Thank you both.